Hey everyone, Dave here. With me as always is Ryan. This is episode 124 of the weekly show, all of the week's out of topics with a twist. This week we have a big surprise. Twitter Files, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4. Part 4 just dropped.
What?
Super. So 3 and 4 are dedicated to Donald Trump, insurrection, January 6th, all that good stuff. Part 2 is kind of more of a continuation of Part 1, where it talks about Twitter doing the things that we know big tech companies have been doing, but they've been in denial about. And thanks to Elon Musk being a just glorious, glorious human.
Patriot.
He's a modern patriot.
Patriot.
Are we going there?
The refounding fathers, brother. The refounding fathers.
Are we going there? Is Elon Musk patriot status?
That's patriotism right there. I think spending $4 billion of your net worth, right? 7 something.
To buy Twitter?
Yeah.
It was like tens of billions, I think.
Sorry. All right. 70 something?
Yeah.
Okay. Spending that much money for free speech. What's more patriotic? In essence, the social feeds we have, the algorithm, as we call it, is the Constitution, or the Declaration of Independence based on what you say. So, yeah, but modern day patriotism.
All right, I'm excited. Let's get to it. We got Twitter Files. We're going to do that. We got you said something, Biden at the border. Did he go to the border?
He went to Arizona.
That's basically a border. Kanye West. More yay? Is there more yay stuff?
Yeah, did I talk about child support last week?
Yes. I think you mentioned it briefly.
All right.
And trading with terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to it. We're doing Part 2, Part 3, Part 4 Twitter Files. I'm excited. All right, let's. I think it was Part 2. Part 2. As
these are the second pieces.
See? Part 2, Twitter's secret blacklists.
Huh. I thought blacklists weren't a thing, David.
Oh, they're a thing. We're going to read all about them. So
it's
Part
crazy
2
they're blacklist and secret.
Part 2 and Part 3, I kind of I read through Part 4 right before we started recording. Part 4, I noticed was out. So that's why it's a surprise for all, including myself. I'm very surprised. Let's get to it. A new Twitter Files investigation reveals that teams of Twitter employees build blacklists, prevent disfavored tweets from trending, aka shadow banning, and actively limit the visibility of entire accounts or even trending topics, all in secret without informing users. Very transparent. Let's see here. Twitter once had a mission to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers along the way. Barriers, nevertheless, were erected. Take, for example, Stanford's Dr. J. Bakhtiari, I think that's right, Bakhtiari, who argued that COVID lockdowns would harm children. Twitter secretly placed him on a trends blacklist, which prevents his tweets from trending. And if you look, this I'm presuming is from a Twitter end, because what you can see is account statuses. Active is a recent abuse strike, trends blacklist, strike count 0. So I'm guessing this is what a Twitter employee would see, and then they could alter this, is my guess.
It's almost like a hashtag, right, of like blacklisting. Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah,
which newsflash fact check. I think it's like they said reading and math dropped 5 points or something for children in the 5th grade. Yeah,
there's no doubt he was correct.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the mental illness and mental health issues that we've seen studies of.
Mm-hmm.
Or consider the popular right-wing talk show host Dan Bongino, who at one point was slapped with a search blacklist, which means you couldn't even search for him. And you know what's funny is Crowder talks about this a lot on YouTube, because let's be clear before we get farther into this. This isn't just Twitter. We're learning for sure, this is factual evidence that Twitter's doing it, but this is all big tech. Let's be clear. This isn't just Twitter that's doing this. They're all on the same page.
Well, especially when they hyperlink to each other, right? Like on Twitter, they have like YouTube video that fact checks it, that's tied to Google, which owns YouTube, right? That sits on boards to battle misinformation with the federal government and global government.
And where I was going with that is those Crowder will mention, if you search for some of his most popular videos on YouTube, sometimes you don't find them. You got to go 3, 4, or 5 pages deep, even though his videos have millions of more views than the other ones on top of him. It's obvious what they're doing, but it's so nice to see it. It's so nice to see this. Twitter set the account of conservative activist Charlie Kirk to do not amplify.
Significant. It's throttled significantly.
That's meaningful. Twitter denied that it does such things in 2018. Twitter's Vijaya Gad, then head of legal policy and trust, and Kayvon Bekpour, I don't know how the fuck to say that, head of product said, "We do not shadow ban." They added, "And we certainly don't shadow ban based on political viewpoints or ideology." Now, at this point,
Are those
they've been
words,
doing
any of them shadow banning though? Like technically, right?
yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Well, I just didn't know, like, the depth of this.
Well, we're going to get into it because they don't refer to it as shadow banning, which she's going to
Yeah.
actually talk about here. What many people call shadow banning, Twitter executives and employees call visibility filtering, or VF. Multiple high-level sources confirmed its meeting.
Visibility filtering.
Visibility filtering, aka they're filtering your visibility out of the public.
It sounds like chemtrails, but it's really geoengineering.
You're going to get us visibility filtered, Ryan. Don't talk about chemtrails.
Uh,
Think about visibility filtering
geoengineering.
as being a way for us to suppress what people see to different levels. It's a very powerful tool, one senior Twitter employee told us. VF refers to Twitter's control over users' visibility. It used VF to block searches of individual users to limit the scope of a particular tweet's discoverability, to block secret users' posts from ever appearing on the trending page, and from inclusion in hashtag searches. All without users' knowledge. We control visibility quite a bit, and we control the amplification of your content quite a bit. And normal people do not know how much we do, one Twitter engineer told us. 2 additional Twitter employees confirmed. So this is, again, this is just confirming everything we always talk about big tech. We know what these people are doing. And it's going to tie more into, and we talked a little while ago about how government's involved in this, because that's when it really gets hairy. At the end of the day, while I would disagree with a company doing such a thing, if it was one private company that was doing this, fine. It is what it is. I'm not using their service. But what it really boils down to is we have government intermingling with these private companies, which is leading to this. Which then now we're talking about First Amendment violations. That's when it gets real serious.
Yeah, in like a communist capitalist way.
Yes, or just communist. The
That's
the
a private
group,
company, David.
yeah, it's a private company, but it's taking marching orders from the government. So I guess you decide that term. The group that decided whether to limit the reach of certain users was the Strategic Response Team Global Escalation Team, or SRTGET, CERTGIT. It often
Sounds
handled
like
up to
fucking
200
military.
cases a day. But there existed a level beyond official ticketing, beyond the rank and file moderators, following the company's policy on paper, that is the Site Integrity Policy Escalation Support, known as SIPPES. That is not even shorthand at that point. In secret group included head of legal policy trust Vijaya Gad, and you hear her name a lot throughout all of this. We heard it a lot last week too when we were talking about part 1, but it's plastered everywhere. The global head of trust and safety, Yoel Roth, who we'll hear a lot about also, subsequent CEOs Jack Dorsey and Parag Agrawal and others. Ryan, I sent you this because last week we were talking about how Jack Dorsey. This was all unbeknownst to Jack Dorsey. Wasn't that the general? I think it flat out even said that he didn't know this was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we know he's in this secret group with Vijaya Gad and Yoel Roth, and this group is in charge of basically visibility filtering and shadow banning and not amplifying posts. And so he was behind all of it. I mean, he was with the secret group on all of these topics. So the fact that Jack Dorsey didn't know about this stuff, I remember we said, well, that seems a little weird. I mean, I don't expect Jack Dorsey to know everything that's happening at the company, but Wouldn't he know something this major was going on? And surely now we know that he did.
Sounds like House of Cards and not Veep, David.
I hope you keep hammering that point. To be honest,
I'll never until I speak to Ben Shapiro about it. I mean, his vaccine thing, just like he even said, like blah blah blah. It's a public health. He has like a redaction on him getting vaccinated, how he regrets it. Like fuck you, man. Like I'm not gonna keep getting shown. The what was the acronym they used? How military does Twitter need to
well,
be?
there's two. There's cert git and there's SIPPES.
SIPPES, like sit rep, like what is the situational
Situation. Yeah. So the
this is just
Strategic Response
unbelievable.
Team Global Escalation Team is CertGet, and then the Site Integrity Policy Escalation Support is SIPPES.
Those are definitely names that most private companies always use. You know, they're not militarized at all. These aren't people that just like funnel information for like, I don't know, variety of purposes. But it's definitely just Veep, David. It's the only explanation. These people, they're not like calling each other up or anything, Dave. It's not like they're censoring each other's emails
No.
or like
We'll,
spying on each other or meeting in dark alleys. You know,
yeah,
I
we'll
wonder
hit
like how many of these people were familiar with the matter.
well, a lot of them, as it turns out, and we'll get to we'll get to more of this.
Endless
Uh,
sources because everybody's a fucking source. Go figure.
Here's the
Didn't we
source.
literally say this that like they could just like since they're plugged into all the information, they could leak anything they want and just steer narratives and
I'm waiting for people to read all these and then be like, "What's your source?" The fucking company I bought. You buy a company, you let me know what your source is, but mine's the multi-billion-dollar tech company I bought. That's my source. This is where the biggest, most politically sensitive decisions got made. Think high follower account controversial. Another Twitter employee told us for these, there would be no ticket or anything, which means that group directly made the call. One of the accounts, and I think we talked about Libs of TikTok getting banned a while back when it happened, but one of the accounts that rose to this level of scrutiny was Libs of TikTok, an account that was made on the Trends blacklist and was designated as do not take action on user without consulting with SIPPES. The account, which Chaya Rychek began in November 2020 and now boasts over 1.4 million followers, was subjected to 6 suspensions in 2022 alone. Rychek says each time Rychek was blocked from posting for as long as a week. Twitter repeatedly informed Rychek that she had been suspended for violating Twitter's policy against hateful conduct. But in an internal SIPPES memo from October 2022, after her 7th suspension, the committee acknowledged that LTT, Libs at TikTok, I'm guessing, has not directly engaged in behavior violative of the hateful conduct policy. The committee justified her suspension internally by claiming her posts encouraged online harassment of hospitals and medical providers by insinuating that gender affirming healthcare is equivalent to child abuse or grooming.
it is. That is child abuse and grooming, David.
Well, now, believe it or not, YouTube is probably escalating us to SIPPES. I'm sure they have their own version of that since, they're all tied together with the government.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the acronym would be
The same.
CCP.
It'd be the same because it comes from the same people. Compare this to what happened when Rychek herself was doxxed on November 21st, 2022. A photo of her home with her address was posted in a tweet that has garnered more than 10,000 likes. When Rychek told Twitter that her address had been disseminated, she says Twitter support responders with this message, "We reviewed the reported content and didn't find it to be in violation of Twitter rules." She was literally doxxed. It's not only a violation of Twitter rules, or at least it should be, it's a violation of the law. But that is still up on Twitter. In an internal Slack messages, Twitter employees spoke of using technicalities to restrict visibilities of tweets and subjects. Here's Yoel Roth, Twitter's then global head of trust and safety, in a direct message to colleagues. I mean, this just goes on and on. This is Yoel Roth again. It's just amazing to see this all playing out.
It's overwhelming, honestly.
It is. It's a lot to take in, which is amazing
Right
because
to be this correct It was like a laser, you know what I mean? Like almost like this has been talked about in the ether for a long time on the internet, and
And it was
everybody
a
just thought it was
conspiracy.
like the biggest conspiracy. Like everybody, like some people in certain positions actually said that it wasn't House of Cards, it was Veep, and here we certainly see it. I mean, this is, and something else quickly. If Twitter is this modern company, right, and this is happening at a modern company with modern things, imagine what like legacy media has been doing for decades.
Well, that's correct, and they've all been going completely unchecked. And the thing is, if you've watched legacy media, the old school CNN and things like that, and it's always seemed like, man, they're really one sided and biased. But where do you think that comes from? It came from the same people that are now controlling big tech, because the government is always trying to control information, right? Now, this kind of goes back as far as another conspiracy, ready, which isn't even conspiracy because it's all completely been proven several times. But this kind of seems like just decades later MK Ultra, right? Isn't that subliminal messaging? This is subliminal messaging on steroids. This is the government directly telling media and big tech that these are the stories you can post. These are the things you can say. This is what you're going to set the narratives as. And this is
Yeah, I
what's been
think
happening for decades.
yeah, I think we actually call it political Stockholm syndrome on this program. That they can like feed you these lies, double sided. They talk out of both sides of their mouths, and then full circle too. Like once again, this Twitter, right, this big conglomerate
Mhm.
of social media tech and influence, right? And then we reference legacy media, but it goes down the trickle way, right? Because a lot of people get their information for these sources. So even the second and third hand sources, fourth hand, fifth hand, people in our situation, for example, can be corrupted with this information because it has been propagandized or swayed, which has always been why I get so aggravated when people call me crazy. But I've watched these people like literally lie to my face on everything forever, and you're telling me I'm the child, but I'm trying to think like a rational adult. That's always been like why I get so passionate. Is like I'm trying to like live honorably and with knowledge and not be a slave to the system, right? I want to be spread wealth to my like all these wonderful things that we're supposed to believe in as the American dream. And they tell me I'm crazy. And then here it is. Overwhelming. Most people, I wonder how many people actually know about this, have looked at this, and it isn't just, I've seen various amounts of memes being shared by people that are like minded by me, but it's like, how many of you went down the actual rabbit hole and seen what is actually true when it comes to the things, David, that you're scrolling through here and explaining a little bit, and how Jack Dorsey basically knows, and they have these filters, and once again, they always yeah, go around with the language thing, right? They reinvent language. Why do they reinvent language? Because they can socially manipulate it with you on the internet, and they're showing you basically how they've taken hashtags and made it, hate speech isn't a real thing. But with these giants with legacy media, the truth gets halfway around the world. Yeah, a lie makes it halfway around the world before the truth puts its shoes on. And like, even with the internet, all that power, all that spread of information, everybody thought it was absolute. Everybody thought it was like fucking Santa Claus. It was just delivering information through your chimney on your phone. And then here it is. Here we're finding out that they can cut the fuel in the jet before it even gets it. Right? They can kill the fish in the stream before they're ever able to swim. They
Yep.
remove the sun for the flower to blossom of information. Like what more, and we now have facts. We now have facts. Dave and I have more. We have more credibility gained. This is actually good for us. Good win. This is a win. Great for Elon, Patriot. But
Well,
we all
yeah.
got to do. We gotta kind of really assess ourselves. I think, David, like really, really, really assess ourselves, and that's why I'm wondering how many people actually are doing the deep dive on this.
Well, and that's why we are. But here's what's crazy, because as bad as this is, right? Because this is bad. This is extremely bad. And we've known this has been going on, and
Well,
it
imagine what
happens.
the government fucking gets away with if this is a private company working with the government. Like if the government, if like the private company's not going to tell on the government and vice versa. Imagine what the government working with the government, working with the government, working with the government. Like all these, seven agencies come together. Yeah, none of you are going to fucking lie on each other. Oh yeah, let me. Yeah,
Well,
none
they
of you guys
recently, not to get too off topic, but they
yeah,
recently
yeah.
did have an audit, an internal audit, and found that like what $2 trillion was missing or something. But and that was an internal audit, so imagine if it was a third party audit, they'd find about probably 5 times that missing.
Or how about like an audit by real economics, like some guy that's not paid on a payroll from somebody that has an invested interest, like a private business that actually could, like, I don't know, not lie.
So yeah, yeah. So let's get to because as bad as this is, it arguably gets worse. I mean, I don't know if you would agree that this is worse, but here we are. Are we here? Part three of the Twitter files, and this is based on the removal of Donald Trump. And this is part one of that. Turns out part four is more of this. So let's jump in. I can't believe how much is here. This is crazy. Like you said, it's overwhelming with corrects, but
What do you mean, Dave? It's almost like they gather all of our information and tuck it away to be used at any time that they want.
uh, this is just absurd. The world knows. So part three, I vaguely skimmed through. I haven't really had a chance. So a lot of this reaction is going to be genuine from me and Ryan, because Ryan, I'm guessing, went in totally blind. I'm in somewhat blind, and then part four, we're both going to be totally blind. So
I just seen a Trump headline that Trump was referenced. I just caught the once again, I don't digest these, especially with these Twitter files, because honestly, it's nothing we haven't said before. But whatever, it's besides the fact.
the the world knows much of the story of what happened between riots at the Capitol on January 6th and the removal of President Donald Trump from Twitter on January 8th. Keep in mind that timeline too, 'cause 2 days from the riot to he's out. We'll show you what hasn't been revealed. The erosion of standards within the company in months before J6, decisions by high-ranking executives to violate their own policies, and more against the backdrop of ongoing documented interaction with federal agencies. And this is where it starts to. This is where it becomes First Amendment issue, right? If it was just a private company, I get it. Then they're right. They do have if you're a private company, you have a right to have whoever you want on your. But when the government's involved, that changes everything. This first installment covers the period before the election through January 6th. Tomorrow, well, it turns out that's today. We'll detail the chaos inside Twitter on January 7th on Sunday. There's supposed to be more. More is potentially dropping. Whatever your opinion on the decision to remove Trump that day, the internal communications at Twitter between January 6th, January 8th have clear historical import. I'm guessing that's supposed to be important.
It's
Even
amazing this
Twitter's
stuff dropped after the January 6th committee was wrapped up. It's almost like they didn't consort all the available information to make sure that when they went in front of the American people and the elected representative bodies, that they didn't have quite everything that would be necessary to get the full objective truth out, unbiased.
Yeah, not to get too off the rails either, but January 6th, it seemed like it was a big story, those trials. That was a really big story leading up to midterms. I haven't heard much since.
It's kind of weird.
Weird. Whatever your opinion on the decision to remove Trump that day. Oh, we just read that. Even Twitter's employees understood in the moment it was a landmark moment in the, I don't think that's annals of speech. As soon as they finished banning Trump, Twitter execs started processing new power. They prepared to ban future presidents and White Houses, perhaps even Joe Biden. Probably not, though. The new administration says one exec will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary. That's weird. That's weird. How? What? Yeah. It's weird that they already decided that they weren't going to ban the new administration. Twitter executives removed Trump in part over what one executive called the context surrounding actions by Trump and supporters over the course of the election and, frankly, last 4+ years. In the end, they looked at the broad picture, but that approach can cut both ways.
It's not for them to decide.
No, it's not, but they did. The bulk of the internal debate leading to Trump's ban took place in those 3 January days. However, the intellectual framework was laid the months preceding the Capitol riots. Before J6, Twitter was a unique mixture of automated rules-based enforcement. We've talked about this. I sent you this also because you always like to say these companies are ran by fax machines. And but you better believe too, YouTube. Obviously we're on YouTube as well. YouTube, Rumble. Make sure you're following. But YouTube obviously has the same exact ability. I mean, they have the voice. We talked about this before. They have the voice recognition. They can do automated closed captions on your videos. How do they do that? Well, they hear my words and they AI generates captions automatically. You don't have to type them in. You can go in and edit and correct if you want, but it knows what you're saying. So it's the same thing, really. If it knows what you're saying or if it knows what you're typing, it's very easy for a company like Twitter or YouTube to set up basically hot words, where if you say certain words or certain phrases, it's going to shadow ban or visibility filter your videos, and it's very obvious when it happens, right? Because you can have, a video, couple hundred views, 10 views. It's like, well, you know what I mean? Like, what happened?
Sounds relevant.
Yeah, well, it's very relevant. It's meaningful, as Zuckerberg would put it. Before J6, Twitter was a unique mix of automated rules-based enforcement and more subjective moderation by senior executives. As Barry Weiss reported, the firm had a vast array of tools for manipulating visibility filtering, most of all of which were thrown at Trump and others pre-J6. As the election approached, senior executives, perhaps under pressure from federal agencies, remember, we watched that video. We watched the video from the government branch themselves. Was it the Department of Homeland Security? I'm trying to remember exactly which branch it was. But they came out and they said they were working with companies. They were meeting with companies on a weekly basis. Right?
Like 2 years before this.
Yes. Even. So now we're seeing all of these things tie together, and now it's seeming like a solid case. It's not just one guy claimed something. It's not this. It's all of the evidence is now tied together. As the election approached, senior executives, perhaps under the pressure, who met more times progressed, increasingly struggled with rules and began to speak of bios as pretext to do what they like, what they've done anyway. After J6, internal slacks showed Twitter executives getting a kick out of the intensified relationship with federal agencies. Here's trust and safety head Yoel Roth laminating a lack of generic enough calendar descriptions to concealing his very interesting meetings with partners. This was one of his calendar meetings. Definitely not meeting with the FBI, I swear. That's a big joke to these people. This fucking guy right here, right? Yoel Roth. He is working with the government to limit your speech, and he's fucking laughing about it. He thinks this is funny.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like Thomas Jefferson always said, right? Like there should be a division between the rural and the city. Basically, that's where like liberty goes to die, is the cities. Mm-hmm. And like, why would it be any different with the people that hold the keys to the algorithm? It shows like the power of the ivory tower, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then listen, we talk about on this, like, it's very easy to get caught up in left and right, and I think there's things worth talking about when we talk about left and right and political atmospheres and things like that. But the real thing we need to keep our eyes on are elites versus us.
It's a 99% versus the 1, man.
These initial reports are based on searches for docs linked to prominent executives whose names are already public. They've include Roth, Vijaya Gad, as I said, she's going to be all through this. And recently, plank-walked Deputy General Counsel and former top FBI lawyer, look at that, Jim Baker. It's weird how all these people are combined. One particular Slack channel offers an unique window into the evolving thinking of top officials in late 2020 and 21.
Is Jim Baker one of the dudes they used for like the Clinton investigation?
Not sure offhand.
Right,
does his name sound familiar for you?
I mean, everything sounds familiar when it comes to this stuff.
It's tough because there are a lot of names that get thrown around, and then like sometimes they're thrown in the back of your head, and then it'll pop up, and you're like, why does that guy sound familiar? Yeah, I know this is going to happen to us. 6 months from now, we're going to read something about Vijaya Gad, and we're going to be like, she sounds familiar.
Yeah, I swear she was on the Rogan podcast. I tried looking up which ones Jack Dorsey was on so that we could timestamp that in comparison to this. and it was like 12:36 of Joe Rogan's podcast,
Yeah,
which were like late 19
that was
and
a long
early
time ago.
2020.
On October 8th, 2020, executives opened a channel called US 2020 underscore XFN underscore enforcement through J6. This would be home for discussions about election related removals, especially ones that involved high profile accounts, often called VITs or very important tweeters.
Oh, look at that. They used all our hashtags to make a little list for each other. All that data that's free. It's not important.
People really thought that they weren't doing anything with this information. It's incredible.
Why would they, David? What do they need it for? It's not like we can use it for anything.
Control. There was at least some tension between safety operations, a larger department whose staffers used a more rules-based process for addressing issues like porn, scams, and threats, and smaller, more powerful senior policy
Child
execs.
trafficking's not even on there. Fucking happy for them.
The latter group were a high-speed Supreme Court of moderation, issuing content rulings on the fly, often in minutes and based on guesses, gut calls, even Google searches, even in the case involving the president.
So they Google search to verify if Trump should be banned or not.
Yeah, well, at least Google's not also tied in with the government.
What the fuck? Yeah, let's fact check Trump with our other people that get their information.
During this time, executives were also clearly liaising with federal enforcement. I don't think that's how that's supposed to look. With federal enforcement and intelligence agencies about moderation of election-related content. While we're still at the start of reviewing the Twitter files, we're finding out more about these interactions every day. I don't know how many parts of Twitter files are going to be, but you got to remember there's like hundreds of thousands of documents that they can go through. So I imagine this is going to go on for quite some time. Policy Director Nick Pickles, that can't be real, is asked if they should say Twitter defects misinfo through ML human review and partnerships with outside experts. I wonder who these outside experts would be. The employees ask, I know that has been a slippery process. Not sure if you want
Slippery
our public explanation to hang on. It can't be Nick Pickles, man. There's no way. Pickles quickly asks if they could just say partnerships. After a pause, he says, not sure who to describe the FBI DHS as experts. Say partnerships? FBI DHS. I want to say it was the DHS when we watched that video. I thought it was the Department of Homeland Security. Remember, Zuckerberg was saying the FBI. Oh, the FBI came to us and said to watch out for that Russian disinfo. There they are. Just changing elections. The federal government just in there changing elections. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. This post was about the Hunter Biden laptop situation. Shows that Roth not only met weekly with the FBI and DHS, but with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. These are government agencies meeting with Twitter, telling them. I mean, let's be honest. This is what these meetings were. This was the government telling big tech companies what to look for, what to silence. This is blatant First Amendment violations. Roth's report to FBI, DHS, DNI is almost, don't even know what that is, in its self-flatulating tone. We blocked the NYP story, then unblocked it, but said the opposite. Comms is angry. Reporters think we're idiots. In short, fuck my life. Some of Roth's later slacks indicate his weekly confabs with federal law enforcement involved separate meetings. Here, he ghosts the FBI and DHS respectively to go first to an Aspen Institute thing, then take a call with Apple. It's amazing to see all these people all intertwined together. This is when we say it's the leads versus you. This is what we're talking about.
It's clearly Veep, David.
This is the most House of Cards thing. House of Cards didn't write anything this good.
This is almost like a bunch of creeps elites meeting in the middle of nowhere for the Bilderberg annual group since 1953.
It's almost like all these people get together and just praise owls in the middle of the woods.
Nothing to see here. Yeah, we're just burning ceremonial sticks here.
It's fine, officer. We're just praising this owl.
Get that crazy guy out of here.
The FBI sends reports about a pair of tweets, the second of which involves a former Tippecanoe County, Indiana consulator and Republican named John Basham claiming between 2% and 25% of ballots by mail are being rejected for errors. The FBI's report concerned this tweet. Don't worry about this. That's not election fraud
2%
news.
wouldn't.
That
Yeah,
didn't happen.
2% wouldn't change the outcome, right, David? 2%
No,
is
but
not.
it's well, it could have, but also 2% and between 2% and 25. So that's quite a margin. Also,
Like 1 in 4.
I feel like 25% would definitely. That's 1 out of 4 apples, Ryan.
Hmm.
The FBI flagged tweet then got circulated in the enforcement Slack. Twitter cited PolitiFact to say the first story was proven to be false, then noted the second one was already deemed no VO on numerous occasions.
Even though they knew that there was validity to it, possibly.
Well, I'm sure they ran a quick Google search, Ryan. The group then decides to apply a "Learn How Voting is Safe and Secure" label because one commenter said it is totally normal to have a 2% error rate. Roth then gives the final go-ahead to the process initiated by the FBI. Initiated by the FBI are the kids here. This isn't
it's kinda
Twitter
like
acting on its own. This isn't a private company just doing what it wants.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not wrong by saying the margin of error is between 2% and stuff. That is like an actual thing they use for metrics. But it's once again, David, that they're instructed to look into these things. They're being coerced. It's an invisible hand. It's
Yeah, and this is the end of part 3 here, examining the entire election enforcement Slack. We didn't see one reference to moderation requests from the Trump campaign. Fascinating. The Trump White Houses or Republicans generally. We did look. They may exist. We were told they do. However, they were absent.
Could you imagine if Republicans were blackmailing shutting down their opponents with the power of the federal government?
I would imagine it would be a big story, Ryan.
Not
You
only be
heard?
a big story,
I
it'd be
don't.
kind of hard because the main ideology for Republicans is smaller government, so that this shit's literally is impossible to happen. It's almost like
Ryan, I
the
don't.
moral compass is preventing them from being able to do that because it goes against their interests.
I don't get often on I don't even have cable, so I don't watch cable news. I don't get often on like CNN, MSNBC, things like that. But I wonder is the Twitter files trending on MSNBC and CNN? Are they talking about this?
The only thing I've seen is on Fox with a Twitter file.
Because this would absolutely, to your point, if this was the other way around, if this was Republicans, if the Trump team directly reached out to Twitter and Twitter was taking orders from the Trump team, you better believe CNN and MSNBC would be littered with this story. You wouldn't be able to take it off.
Well, how about the Steele dossier? It's very
It
similar.
was all over.
It was actually
Exactly.
very similar to this, though.
And then they found out it was
Trump
fake.
reached out to somebody with information to be used against their competitor during an election, which is why the federal government started looking into it because they thought it was Russian propaganda, disinformation, trying to influence the election, right? These are all the things we're told.
Mm-hmm.
When really the Steele dossier was written by the opponent of Trump's campaign, Hillary Clinton, basically, and sold as a bill of good to set up Trump. And then I'll go by extension so that Hillary could use her power in the federal government to go after Trump for the documents that she basically engineered and then planted on the opposing campaign. It says this is like
Ryan. Oh man, this show's going to be long. I hope everyone. I thank everyone for watching. Keep following along. We're going to do more of these, obviously, because I don't think the Twitter files is going to stop. Appreciate everyone watching.
Twitter
Facebook,
files could
YouTube,
almost
Rumble.
be like its own allegory or this own anthology at this point.
It really is, honestly. I mean, and like I said, I think this is going to take over for a few weeks here. I don't suspect this is going to stop anytime soon. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but
this may be some of the most important information we've ever received since the beginning of not only the election of 2020, but the pandemic of 2020. And I think the Twitter files will eventually get to some of the
COVID.
coronavirus. And
I agree, and I can't wait to see that come to fruition here. There's just watching all of this, all the validation from the Twitter files so far. It's so it's tough to be positive about it, right? Because it's good to see, but at the same time, it's like, man, we were right. Like I didn't want to be right. I wish I was wrong.
Well, now that I
right?
know I'm
I
right,
would have much rather have been wrong about all of this.
I'm way more motivated to take these people down though because they're wrong. That means if I go to the local politicians and just stand in their face and tell them you're full of shit and I know you're lying in internal documents, we have them. You've lied since what are they going to say? What are you going to
Well,
say? There's
how do
nothing
we
you
know, Ryan? Maybe all this Twitter stuff is Russian disinformation,
then Russia won World War II,
right?
David.
Right, right? Because isn't yeah. Well, that's a separate point, but I mean, I'm sure that's going to be. I mean, if that hasn't already been floated out there, I'm sure it's going to be that all this is fake information. But
Well, how's
it's
it fake
pretty.
information? All this happened when it was owned by the ideology that all these people loved.
Yes, that's
So it's
correct.
impossible. And this is actually internal documents in the company that you said was a private company can do anything that they want. And they did anything that they fucking wanted. And this
Yes,
is
but we're
before Elon bought and took over the company and anything like that. He was still a consumer of this product. He was still a user of this product before it became his to sell and make money on.
yeah. I
There's
almost
no
wonder why
you
so many
can't sell
people
fact
didn't
check.
want Elon to buy Twitter.
Hmm.
Weird.
It is weird.
Um, I still don't know about Jack Dorsey. We'll we'll see as this goes on. There's something there, man. I
Dude,
don't
people
know.
have to go to jail. Like, if we have any integrity in our court system, this is beyond presidential pardon. This is, I would argue, this is treason, and that the military could get involved for military tribunals, and there might be actually like executions involved. I'm not calling for this, but I'm sure if you were to get historical legal scholars that have looked at things like atrocities and other things, and what they could chalk this up to. I mean, we're talking irreparable damage. We're talking about feeling. I mean, how many people in America felt like that they had the election stolen from them with Donald Trump when everything was going great till
Well,
coronavirus?
half, right?
At least half, David. That's what the metrics say, the numbers say. I'm sure all the numbers that I seen were influenced by the government too, if they're influencing the shit on Twitter. I'm
Well,
sure that they
Ryan,
called up MSNBC and said, it's actually like, even though we know that Trump's going to win in a landslide, it's only 50% of Americans believe that
yeah.
Trump is.
Well, I'll leave you in charge, Ryan, of figuring out the exact number because you are the self-declared head of Trumpers. I don't know. What are you, the Trump king? What'd you call yourself?
The biggest Trump faggot.
I don't know. See, there's automated AI from YouTube right there, but this one doesn't get a lot of views.
You could just bleep it. They won't know.
Twitter, it doesn't matter. We're talking about the Twitter files. Watch on Rumble.
Do, do,
Uh, I
do.
have not seen this. Twitter Files Part 4, the removal of Donald Trump, January 7. As the pressure builds, Twitter executives build the case for a permanent ban. On January 7th, senior Twitter execs create justifications to ban Trump, seek a change of policy for Trump alone, distinct from other political leaders, express no concern for free speech or democracy implications in the ban. Which
They
is,
have a Trump policy at Twitter.
remember when we're talking about the government colluding with big tech, no concern for free speech. There's a big one. This is him just saying, watch part 1, part 2, part 3 first. For years, Twitter had resisted calls to ban Trump, blocking a world leader from Twitter, it wrote in 2018, would hide important info and hamper necessary decisions around their words and actions. But after the events of January 6th, oh boy, is Jack getting involved again? The internal and external pressures on Twitter CEO Jack Gross, former First Lady Michelle Obama, tech journalist Kara Swisher, ADL High Tech VC Chris Sacca, and many others publicly call on Trump to permanently ban Trump. Dorsey was on vacation in French Polynesia the week of January 4th to 8th, 2021. He phoned,
Coincidentally, huh?
yeah, I'm sure. He phoned into meetings, but also delegated much of the handling of the situation to senior execs. Yo, Twitter's global head of trust, safety, Vijaya Gad, there she goes again, and Yoel Roth, head of legal policy and trust. As context, it's important to understand that Twitter's staff and senior execs were overwhelmingly progressive in 2020. See, they talked about this in part 1 also. In 2022, 96, 98, and 99% of Twitter staff political donations went to Democrats. We already showed this, $551. In 2017, Roth tweeted there were actual Nazis in the White House. This was Joel Roth. This is the guy that was totally not meeting with the FBI. In April 2022, Roth told a colleague that his goal is to drive change in the world, which is why he why he decided not to become an academic.
Instead, I'll just become the thing that all the academics can use to spread information so I can censor it.
It's weird that those were his choices since all the academics are also run by the government. On January 7th, Jack Dorsey emails employees saying that Twitter needs to remain consistent in its policies, including the right of users to return to Twitter after temporary suspensions. After Roth reassured employees that people who cared about this aren't happy with where we are.
How great
Around
that the
11th.
bottom of Twitter says don't miss what's happening right now, and they've been shadow banning shit for years.
Oh, that's because I'm not logged into my account. But that is ironic. Around 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, Roth DMs his colleagues with news that he's excited to share. Guess what? He writes, Jack just approved repeat offender for civic integrity. The
Mhm.
new approach would create a system where 5 violation strikes would result in a permanent suspension. I'm sure that was coincidental also while he was in French Polynesia.
Why don't they have it?
Progress.
Why isn't it 5,000 likes and just 5, David? Why don't they let a lot of people vote to see if Trump should stay?
Progress, exclaims a member of Roth's trust and safety team. The exchange between Roth and his colleagues makes clear that they had been pushing Jack for greater restrictions on the speech Twitter allows around elections. The colleagues wants to know if the decision means Trump can finally be banned. The person asked, "Does the incitement to violence?" I gotta sneeze. Does the incitement to violence aspect change that calculus?
There was no
Roth says it doesn't.
violence.
Trump continues just to have his one strike remaining. Roth's colleagues' query about incitement to violence heavily foreshadows what will happen the following day. That's an interesting word for it. On January 8th, Twitter announced a permanent ban on Trump due to the risk of further incitement of violence. So he got. Hold on. He was banned for a risk of further incitement to violence. So he got banned for something they thought he was going to do in the future.
Thought crime.
He got banned because they thought he was going to violate policies in the future, so they just banned him ahead of time.
Yeah, but he only had one strike, they said.
I think it was one strike to go.
Oh, okay. So that's all they needed to make.
Because the 5 strikes policy just happened to come out while Jack Dorsey was in French Polynesia.
Yeah, we don't want to make it seem like we just stole his Twitter from him. We'll just say that he violated 5 of our strikes.
Yeah. Well, how many strikes do you need before we permanently ban you? I don't know. How many does Trump have now? 4. We need 5 strikes.
I mean, when did you guys come up with this policy? Oh,
yesterday. And the fifth strike will be something he hasn't done yet.
In his last 2 tweets, there was
Jesus.
no Remember when I said, imagine if Hitler had Twitter?
Yeah, well. On J8, Twitter says its ban is based on specifically how Trump tweets are being received and interpreted. In 2019, Twitter said it did not attempt to determine all potential interceptions of the content or its intent.
So it's not what he said or what he meant to say. It's how it's
how
interpreted.
It would have been perceived.
The most bland shit. You can indict a ham sandwich.
So, to further go down this road, he was banned because of what he may have said in the future and how it may have been perceived in the future. That seems ironclad. The only serious concern we found expressed within Twitter over the implication of free speech, this was the $451 guy, I bet, banning Trump came from a junior person in the organization. It was tucked away in the lower level Slack channel known as Site Integrity Auto. This was probably the guy who donated $450.
Slippery slope. That's an odd use of words, David.
Yeah, we've never said those words. This might be an unpopular opinion, but one off ADHOC decisions like this that don't appear rooted in policy are, in my honest opinion, a slippery slope. This now appears to be fiat by an online platform CEO with global presence that can gatekeep speech for the entire world. Well, this is taking it to a new level because we're just talking about our federal government controlling speech. But to this guy's point here, who's to say globalists aren't coming down and controlling our speech?
Well,
Again,
David,
this is us versus them. This is execs this is the peasants versus the elites.
Xi Jinping did remind me that globalism is inevitable. So,
Well, if globalism is inevitable, Ryan, how would you start?
um,
Right? Would
so
controlling
discourse among
information?
people, and then once you have discourse sort amongst your people, you got to control the internet because it's the last vestige of true freedom. Because we can live stream anything at any time, anywhere. And then you also would make the youth hate their country that they're growing up in, even though we have the highest standard of living ever achieved in the history of all of humanity. So, but I'm
Twitter
told that this is just Veep and not House of Cards. So,
Twitter employees
the
use the
guy's a
term.
billionaire, and I got to get lectured at him about how I'm just some immature conspiracy theorist sitting in my living room. But these people are literally like texting each other about how they can censor the most powerful man in the world. And then the very employees that are looking at the policies that are being implemented on the most powerful people in the world, they're like, huh, this doesn't just stop in America. This is actually like a global phenomena. It's like, oh my God, no wonder that this is happening here in America. And then we bring it up. We're just told it's I'm sorry, David. It's a little frustrating, honestly.
Ryan, do you know what this is?
It's we took off our tin hats, right? We're done. Tin hats don't exist.
Yeah, no, conspiracy cast is dead forever.
Yeah.
I crushed this up and I threw it last time we did conspiracy cast, and it rolled behind a desk somewhere. I just found it today.
Ooh.
This is symbolism, Ryan. Conspiracies are dead forever.
Yeah, no, we won. You know, the problem is like it's like 700 to nothing, and people haven't even admitted that some of like
Stop the count.
yeah, like people aren't even you know, most people are still on like okay, they might have killed JFK and the moon landing might have been faked. You know, that's it.
Yeah,
Those
there's
are the
don't get me
only.
wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of goofy conspiracies out there, but let's be real. The ones that are most important, right? Like things like government controlling your speech, globalists controlling your speech through big tech platforms. These
Dude,
are
they're
right.
so good. They have done. See, this is why it's got to be grander, because they've done such a good job of beating us down and not thinking that like your voice matters, which was what made social media powerful. And then you're like, oh, everything I say is out there for everybody to see, so I can have an audience and blah blah blah. And then they start controlling it, restricting it, and then echo chambers, and it's just very odd that it's like they say don't be labeled, but then they give us hashtags. You know, like they tell us get different points of view and you should be open minded, but they only feed us the stuff that keeps us in an echo chamber. You know, and it's just like all the hypocrisy has finally been unwound, and it's interesting. It's really an interesting thing.
Again, I apologize for the probably hour and a half long episode you're about to continue watching, but this is the most important stuff I think we've talked about at any point. I mean, we've been talking about this the whole time we've been doing the show, but now again to be verified like this, it's just validated. It's good. Twitter employees use the term one-off frequently in their Slack discussions. Its frequent use reveals significant employee discretion over when and whether to apply warning labels on tweets and strikes on users. Here are typical examples.
If you have
Uh,
to keep using the terms one-off situations, it's not fucking unique. Like you
yeah,
obviously are
one
targeting a
off
certain thing
stops being a one off when it's many.
when it's more than once.
It's now a two off.
It's a
Right now
twice
we're
off,
a
a three off.
many off. Too much off. Recall
Fucking
from Twitter Files 2 by Barry Weiss that according to Twitter staff, we control visibility quite a bit, visibility filtering, and we control amplification of your content quite a bit, and normal people do not know how much we do. It's easy for everybody here to recall because we talked about it today. Uh, Twitter employees recognize the difference between their own policies and Twitter's terms of service, but they also engage in complex interpretations of content in order to stamp out prohibited tweets as a series of exchanges over uh, stop the steal hashtag reveal. Roth immediately DMs a colleague to ask that they add stop the steal and QAnon conspiracy term Kraken to a blacklist of terms to be de amplified. Roth's colleagues object that blacklisting Stop the Steal risks de-amplifying counter speech that validates the election. That's what we talk about. I don't know who this guy who said this was, but that's what we say. We say if you censor, right, and you don't allow the discussion, then it almost makes us automatically right. I mean, if you're not even willing to have the debate, we win. We won. We already won. You won't even debate us. That's how wrong you know you are.
That's how Jordan Peterson got famous.
Indeed, notes Roth colleague, a quick search of the top Stop the Steal tweets and their counter speech. But they quickly come up with a solution. Ooh, easy. De-amplify
Stop the
accounts
Steal
with...
was started by Roger Stone, for the record.
Well, he's a conspiracy theorist. De-amplify accounts with Stop the Steal in the name/profile, since those are not affiliated with counter speech.
Counter speech. There's counter speech now.
Yes, counter speech. All speech that is counter to the speech they would like. But it turns out that even blacklisting Kraken is less straightforward than they thought. That's because Kraken, in addition to being a QAnon conspiracy theory based on the mythical Norwegian sea monster, is also the name of a cryptocurrency exchange and was thus allow listed. Employees struggle with whether to punish users who share screenshots of Trump's deleted J6 tweets. Did they struggle, though? We should bounce these tweets with a strike given the screenshot violates the policy. They are criticizing Trump, so I am a bit hesitant when applying a strike to the user.
Oh, because they fit your narrative. That's weird.
Yeah, that's fascinating how that works.
Very objective for trust the science people.
What if a user dislikes Trump and objects to Twitter's censorship? The tweet still gets deleted. But since the intention is not to deny the election, no punishing strike is applied. If there are instances where the intent is unclear, please feel free to raise. Around noon, a confused senior executive in advertising sales sends a DM to Roth. Jack says here's Jack again. We will permanently suspend Trump if our policies are violated after a 12-hour account lock. What policies is Jack talking about? Any policy violation. Or any future violations we might make up in our heads. What happens next is essential to understanding how Twitter justified banning Trump. Well, that's good, because I still don't understand how they justified it. Are we dropping the public interest policy now? Roth, 6 hours later. Way to get right back to your email, guy. In this specific case, we're changing our
that
public...
guy was just molesting children on Epstein's fucking island.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have good service out in Epstein Island.
Yeah, they don't let us keep our phones on us in case we're wired.
We're changing our public interest approach for his account. Apologies for the slow reply. This is what Yoel Roth says. I've been back to back all day today. What does that mean? In this specific case, we're changing our... Okay, this is very important how you note this. In this specific case, we're changing our public interest approach for his account to say any violation would result in suspension. We aren't completely getting rid of the public interest approach, though we do have work planned on revisions.
This is actually perfect. It's actually perfect on why our Constitution has checks and balances, because we don't want laws that are expeditiously being able to be written, and we're seeing, that by proxy here. Obviously, that they can just make up terms of use every 5 minutes if they want, and they can enforce. Like, they could come in your house, be like, "Oh, we'll be right back," and then they make a law that you're not allowed to have black tables with brown legs, and then they come in and arrest you.
To be fair, you shouldn't. Brown tables, black legs, not a good look.
Kill them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stone them to death.
The ad exec is referring to Twitter. Yeah, and so to your point, Ryan, the government thought they found a loophole here, right, for checks and balances.
Yeah, well, they did. It worked.
It did work.
It worked for a long time, like 10 years long.
And I love seeing this unravel, and I hope this whole thing gets fucking torn down. Because
it really did work. How will we ever trust the government again? Maybe this is what Elon wants, so he can just be like, "I'll give you Neuralink, and you'll never be lied to again."
I would love to further see more of this. I mean, seeing the Twitter internal docs is interesting, but I'd love to see YouTube's internal docs, Facebook's internal docs. I guarantee it's all the same shit.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, the
sure.
Twitter's not a, to use their words, one off, right?
I'm sure to get the meta documents, you're gonna have to put on one of those exploding head VR headsets, and you got to jump through like a lava filled room. And if you know,
I would do it. Give me the fucking give me the
send
fucking VR thing. I'll do it.
send Michael B. Jordan in there to fucking headset up.
Joe Rogan could probably get the internal docs from Zuckerberg because for whatever reason Zuckerberg just opens up
Just
like a fucking.
jujitsu chop him in the head. Like,
He would
look,
just
man,
you
I
want
got
the
a
internal docs? Yeah, I got them all right here. Put on document cam.
I got a grizzly bear in the basement, man. You want to see it?
The ad exec is referring to Twitter's policy of public interest exceptions, which it allows the content of elected officials, even if it violates Twitter rules.
As it should. Literally,
If,
public official, elected official.
if it directly contributes to understanding or discussion of a matter of public concern.
Oh, that's weird.
Roth pushes for a permanent suspension of Rep. Matt Gaetz, interesting, even though it doesn't quite fit anywhere. Duh.
Well, they can
It's
just
a
make
kind
up
of
the individual terms of use, David.
it's a test case for the rationale of banning Trump. I'm trying to talk
Test case.
to Twitter's safety team into removal as a conspiracy that incites violence. Around 2:30, comms execs DM Roth to say that they don't want to make a big deal of the QAnon ban to the media because they fear if we push this, it looks like we're trying to cover up something. I'm sorry, trying to offer up something in the place of the thing everyone wants, meaning a Trump ban. So they didn't they didn't want to make a big deal of banning QAnon because then people would still be asking.
To ban Trump.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god, Dave! These people know exactly what they're doing.
That's correct. And that was part 4. Part 2, part 3, part 4 of the Twitter files. Hopefully
job,
more to
David.
come.
Good job, David.
This is fucking incredible. I mean, it really is. I honestly, I can't even believe what we're witnessing right now.
I'm trying to think of like equally damning document, like maybe like Watergate. You know, some of the files of that, maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, like
even
nothing ever. I mean, we're talking a private company directly working with the government to sway, literally work. They were saying that Trump was working with foreign actors to, intervene in our elections when they were doing it here with a private company.
Oh, right. Hold on. Real quick. Remember how I was saying, like, I couldn't quite remember. I thought it was the DHS that was right there.
Yeah.
It in fact was the Department of Homeland Security, and the reason I know that is because of our scrolling banner.
These guys, it's unbelievable.
Whew, man, there's a lot there. This is just crazy. But I think it's in order to try and stop it from being a 2 or 3 hour episode. Let's get to a couple other things here. Do you want to talk Brittany Griner being traded for a terrorist?
Yeah.
All right. You ready? You roll. You can roll on this. My throat hurts. I don't think I've talked this much in the show's history.
Yeah. Maybe our viewership will go up because I shut the hell up.
You know what's funny? The first episode we did, I think I said like 4 or 5 sentences. Because I was just trying to get a feel for everything. So I just Ryan just fucking ran with it for like an hour straight.
We do it live. Yeah, Brittany Griner, obviously it's been high profile for a while. I don't know the time frame, but it's been at least a few years, a year, somewhere in there, 18 months. She was going to get 9 years for some, she had like hash oil and marijuana oil. And this, we can say whatever about drugs and how we feel about them in the States and how they feel about them there. And it's a Schedule 1 still. And
yeah, but we can put all of it aside.
Yeah,
also.
I'm not mad. I'm not necessarily mad at Brittany Griner for being an ungrateful, spoiled, privileged minority female in America. I'm not going to add to that, I guess. I had my fair shares in private about that I think it's bullshit that she doesn't stand for the anthem. I agree with all, but what this really is just showing is just showing the lack of incompetence of our leadership. If Afghanistan wasn't the highlight of it, yeah, I thought that we don't negotiate with terrorists. Obviously, that's just a cliche. It's a joke if you're libertarian minded and all these other things. But this guy is a known arms dealer. I mean, let's not exaggerate that he has been responsible for death of hundreds, probably thousands, maybe more of people. The people he knows has killed people. Like, if your net worth is your net worth, what is this guy's neck worth? And we just gave him. Oh, you like that? If your net worth is your net worth, what's this guy's neck worth? It's a bar. Well, go ahead. That was a bar, bro. I gotta write that down. Yeah, still, it's true though. I mean, what's this guy know? Who's this know? He's probably knows Putin and all these other people that we hear, all these evil leaders.
Yeah, I don't think there's no way he's not known by Putin.
Yeah, go figure. I wake up this morning that there's bombings from Ukraine into Russia.
Oh, that's weird. How did that work out? I mean, I don't know the exacts of all this, but I presume the White House reached out, right, to the Kremlin.
Well, this wasn't, dude. This isn't. No. They have a list, okay? This is just comic book Ryan hour here, okay? YouTube. But they have a list somewhere. It's probably in a vault with satin gloves. They open it up. Slides open and steam pours out because it hasn't been opened in years. And they have a list of people they want that the United States has. And the United States has a list of people they want. Except this is probably on a floppy disk.
Presumably, though, at some point, communication was made, right? Hopefully a while ago. If Biden, if the administration was remotely doing anything right, the second she was locked up, they should have made contact.
I mean, do I think that we should leave her in jail to rot before we get that Marine out that everybody's comparing to? No, because they should all come home. Like every American in Russia should be home. And I don't think anybody in America feels any different.
No.
But honestly, that's not how it works.
No, and the trade on our end was made from
go over there.
From a stance of weakness, presumably, right?
Well, I don't think it shows strength that we trade for a fucking basketball player. Isn't there an 18-year-old girl that needs an opportunity right now in America that didn't break the law in a foreign country?
And the fact that you're trading at all, I think, shows weakness.
100%. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Right. The phone call, and I'm fucking, what the fuck do I know, right? I'm obviously not a world leader, but the phone call when you are the most powerful country in the world doesn't go, hey, we'd really like to get our basketball player back. Who do you want? That's not how that phone call goes. I'm sorry.
I'm apolitical now, but I'm pretty sure the last president that was in before this president told a couple people that if you kill one of our soldiers, we're going to hit you harder than you've ever been hit in the history of forever.
Well, what he also did was got basketball players out of jail in China, I believe, or North Korea.
Yeah, and also, was it Dennis Rodman that went and saved his son or something from North Korea or one of the Koreas or something, Vietnam?
Right. But again, that phone call doesn't go that way, right? A strong country doesn't make that phone call. A strong country says, listen, this is what's going to happen. You're going to send her back. And if you want anything good out of it, the exchange is, I don't come over there and fuck you up. I'm glad she's back. For the record of all this, I'm glad she's back. But clearly we are weak. At the very least, we have weak leadership.
Honestly, it should have been there's nobody of intelligence matter that we could have gotten plus her. There's, Brittany Griner's not worth the Doctor of Death or the Dealer of Death or whatever.
Merchant of Death, I think it was.
But yeah, it's he's worth her plus a couple people, isn't it? Let's be honest here. She dribbles a basketball. And she was only propped up because the very media that works with the government was probably working with the government to make this whole thing possible.
The other thing this is
she could be a Chinese plant too. Women basketball over in Asia. I mean, they said President Trump's administration said that the Chinese have infiltrated every multinational corporation on earth.
Yeah. Well, they absolutely have.
They found them in Harvard.
NBA. Whether or not they were interested in the WNBA, who knows? I mean, I know I'm not.
Neither.
I think
David. Neither.
This This was a loss on all ends, though, because if I'm Putin, aren't I asking that you stop sending money to Ukraine? Isn't that the thing I want?
I don't think he wants that, David.
He wants them to send 50 billion. I mean, it's more than that now. I don't even know what the
David,
number is
he
up to
just
now. But
keeps because
why would I want that?
look,
I don't want
look.
Ukraine to be stronger with our fucking
It
our
doesn't
shit.
matter. You cut off the power to Europe.
Oh, but
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I
Go
forgot
ahead.
Ukraine. I forgot Ukraine was in Europe. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
I keep thinking that it's East Russia, but it turns out it's just Western European.
Go ahead. Make all your cars mandatory by law that they got to be electric, and you got no coal to run it. Go ahead. No natural gas. Go ahead. Go up. Go right a fucking head. Russia will starve their own people long enough that they're going to starve everybody else out.
Oh,
And then
just wait till the cold winter hits, Ryan.
the winter of death for the unvaccinated.
No, the cold winter that's in Ukraine and Russia. Remember, that's when Russia's really going to take control.
Yeah, for the record, I will never forgive China giving my sister coronavirus that eventually gave it to me.
Well, if you
Yeah,
were
it's funny.
vaccinated, Ryan, you'd be fine.
When I was a kid, I used to want to be a fighter pilot for the United States Air Force and fly F-14 Tomcats and go blow up China. And yeah,
It's never too late to live your dream.
I should have been able to done that. I could have saved a lot of grandparents. You know, all you gotta do is get one wet market right next to a bioweapons lab.
Yeah, it totally the meat market. That's where it came from.
Yeah, we're deep in the weeds on this episode. I like it.
I'm excited to see the Twitter files on COVID because there's gonna be more shit about that.
Oh, dude, that might be the one that breaks.
Yay. You were talking about yay.
200K in child support.
I literally can't say yay. It bothers me. I'm sorry.
200K in child support. What do you think Tom Brady's going to have to pay? For the record, for people who don't know, Kim Kardashian is also a billionaire. Why does she get anything?
Yeah, but Kanye's worth a lot more than Tom Brady is.
Right, and he'll still have to pay his ex-wife child support when she divorced him.
Well, yeah, that's just. I mean,
yeah. Why would Tom Brady pay? And if a woman was making less than a man during divorce, the man has to pay. And then even when the man makes less than the female, he still has to pay. But they claim they want fucking equality.
But that's
the opposite of equality.
Yeah, but that's your biological duty as a man, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm told it's toxic masculinity when the same shit
until it's convenient.
Yeah, I told somebody that at work. I was like, you guys say whatever, I'm an asshole. I was like, but that same shit that makes me an asshole is what literally builds the world. Like, I don't get to turn it on and off. Like, oh, today I'm just gonna tap into toxicity.
No, it's literally biologically pumped through your veins all the time.
Yeah, I know.
There's nothing you can do about it. It's there. It's literally there. It's
why should Kanye have to pay anything to a money grubbing 304? Because he's an idiot and got married. This made me reassess. Look, I will, if I'm ever in a serious relationship ever again, I will never lawfully be married at a state level ever again. You can change your name. I will call you my wife. We will do a ceremony. We will have a private ceremony. We will
go to a church somewhere, have a religious
we'll drive
sacred
two
contract
states
between
away
you, your woman, and the Lord.
Before God, all that. Yeah, I don't need by the power.
So marriage,
by the state of New York. Yeah, we can be wife and husband, and we'll have prenups so that if there's any finances, right. But I will not go anywhere that says invested by the power and state in me. And you know what? If the woman doesn't agree with you, fellows, fucking run. This system, the thing hurting marriage. I'm going to segue this into something else. The thing hurting marriage right now is somebody who would like the idea sounds great. It's just like everything else. The government has fucked it up. They fucked it up because it's been turned into a way for them to make money and to ruin people's lives so that they have more people to control and keep on the government nipple. It's just another plantation. And it's called child support. Now, granted, there's plenty of deadbeats. There's plenty of. This is like the whole thing about rape and incest with the big A. So, most guys that are POSs with their kids, this is a whole different discussion, but you got with this dude to begin with. Second of all, they probably didn't start off that way. People go through life, their season of change in lives and death, divorce, and job loss, injuries. and then you're going to take all this guy's money. Kanye is already broke. He lost like $1 billion in net worth over a week.
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian didn't. She's actually probably increased her net worth. This is the woman with failed marriages before, third or fourth failed marriage, but he's got to pay child support. It's his fault. Kanye's crazy.
At some point, it's like, well, maybe if she's 0 for 4, maybe she's the problem.
Dude, every other realm of life, as a man, you look in the mirror and be like, wow, everybody says I'm a dick. Maybe I am. Nope, not women.
That's the biological difference, though. That's a huge biological difference between men and women.
100%, because they're naturally solipsistic because they have to provide for youth. So they're naturally going to be selfish. Fine, I'm not trying to change that programming. I'm just tired of people thinking that we're equal and all that. Like, you're obviously fucking this guy over. I'm not going to sit by while he fuck people over. Did he make dumb decisions? Sure. But this is a great metric. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, believe all women. Well, she lied. We're seeing high-profile cases of people's lives being ruined. And like I said about Tom Brady and what is this putting in the head of all those other wives that are married to these high-profile people? What does that put in the head of your girlfriend? Kim Kardashian's not happy, but all the girls that are out here, our young daughters, are trying to emulate these people that are unhappy. Like, this is fucking crazy. And then it's partnered with the very people that help it get promoted and fed to us, so that we don't have substance, so we don't know what's going on in politics, or have better education or health, or be able to open business and be able to have wealth management, and, maybe, God forbid, we read books and podcasts. Tell me it's not linked. And then to go further, I seen a thing on one of the things that said couples with a joint bank account tend to have longer lasting relationships. Well, no shit. If you burn all the boats together, if you burn your bridges together and cross things together and say, I'm fully committed to somebody, go figure, you guys last longer. But this is, once again, this algorithm's feeding people. There's more out there to life, and it's tricking your mind, and you're ruining everything. You're ruining your lives, your families. You're letting this device take our time that gives us nothing in return. And then they use the data to sell the shit back to me, and then to censor all the other information that isn't irrelevant to me so that they can feed me just what I want. But then you say that I'm the problem, but you make the echo chamber that promotes the problem that I'm facing. And you have all the information to actually feed me the opposite of the echo chamber to hopefully educate me so that I'm not stuck in an echo chamber. But that never fucking happens.
Sorry, Ryan, not to correct you, but that's called counterspeak.
I mean, they actually have the data. If you can censor somebody's data based on wrong information, why couldn't you feed that wrong information with the correct information? It's almost like you don't want me to have the correct information. You just want me to bitch about the wrong stuff. I wonder why. But then we're back at square one all over again. But I'll jump back to this is the same thing with marriage. I bet you people that get married have longer relationships on average. David, what did you guess? I would guess the people with the longest relationships ever were probably married. Not saying you need to be married to be in a long-term relationship, but on average, most marriages probably last longer than the average relationship that isn't marriage.
Probably because you already have the average relationship before the marriage.
And you burn the bridges. You say, there's no going back. We only go forward together. This is like the whole thing of like growing the fuck up and cleaning your room, like Jordan Peterson says. You don't get to go back to childhood. And he also says with trannies that it's delayed imaginary pretend play with guys wanting to be girls, and they're trying to incorporate it later in life, right? And I think there's some of that going on with these unfulfillment. And granted, I've been there. I've cheated. I've done bad things. I've treated women poorly, and that's because I was looking for validation from them instead of trying to give it to myself with my accomplishments and successes and trying to be a better person. And I don't want to get into a self-help guru, but that's the things I've turned to because I recognize I had fucking problems. And once again, back to the whole male thing. This is the male's way we do it. Like, I have shitty results. Why? Oh, maybe I can change some things. Mm-hmm. I'm only 31. I can change for the rest of my life.
That's the kind of stuff. That's why we created the world. Right? It takes that kind of acknowledgement and leadership to make changes and to do things like create civilizations. If you always just take no responsibility for anything, you can't create a civilization.
Yeah, how will you evolve if you're not trying to improve the thing you already have? If there's no self-improvement at a personal level, how are you going to look at the couch and be like, man, I can make a better couch? And then you actually do. And then you change the way couches are made forever. And then you get to a point that we don't even need couches because some other guy made a thing that makes the couch obsolete. Like, look at horse and buggy, automobile, space. Like, yeah, that, like you said, David, that masculine drive, as Jordan Peterson will put it, is to control chaos. You know, they're the order. Men put the world in order, right? And women are chaos just because they literally birth life, and life is chaos. The universe is chaos. I know it's getting real philosophical here, but yeah, it's just funny to me. We're seeing these things, dude. This is old stuff. Our grandparents did this. Like, people forever have done this. Before money, they would couples that share all of their apples stay together longer. That would be the headline in fucking in a Simpson or a Flintstones episode. You know what I mean? That would be the equivalent to this bank account thing. Couples that share the same cave stay together longer and have healthy, happy families. Their children grow up healthier and don't commit like assault caveman. Like, I know I'm sounding ridiculous, but I mean, we haven't changed. Humans haven't changed. The world we live in has. To think that, you know, we pair bond and monogamy, and it's funny to me. It's funny. Also funny to me, they're going after Trump's organization for tax fraud. Yeah, that's all they got out of January 6th. Tax fraud. Which
well,
is
they're going after
probably
Hunter Biden for tax issues too. So
it's good. I'm glad he didn't have a GoPro camera on weighing out crack cocaine.
Dude, who films all that shit?
I don't know. All right, I got two things here for December entertainment plus the Bills game.
Nope. Go.
So, did a little personal one here. Christmas decorating. Did that. Spent some time with my mom this weekend. It was always a good time. I don't know who's in the holiday spirit here that follows the channel and stuff, but you know, it's like getting that time of year around Buffalo. It's snowy. Everybody's kind of tucking in. We did all the stuff. I had the kid with me, so it was real super fun. And today I went over to my father's and we watched the Bills game. And the Bills barely inched by there. And yeah, first half of the game was kind of lame. But it's like why you like football, you know?
Yeah, you just take the win, I guess.
Dude, you know, if you can win every way, you know, I mean, I don't know if that's better than being able to win awesome every time. Like, if you can win every single way, if you win a war, you know, it's just, I don't know if it's sustainable.
It was just so much cooler at the first part of the year when they were just blowing teams out by like 20, 30 points.
Do you think it's because they're figuring us out?
Ah, man, just barely inching by. Just, I don't know, maybe. I mean, everybody evolves a little bit. How much credit do you give to the Jets defense? It's obviously very good. I don't know. It's just it's a little disheartening, right, to see Mike White, who's a fucking. I'm gonna be honest, he's a nobody. Even though they were all about Mike White during the broadcast, he's a nobody. His story's cool, whatever. He's nobody. He's not an elite quarterback in the NFL. And to watch him go out there and just sling the ball all over the field, it's like, man, is this team really? Is this team a Super Bowl contender for real?
Yeah, I mean, Tre'Davious White didn't look the greatest either.
No, so and Dane Jackson doesn't look all that good, and Jordan Poyer still looks good. Micah Hyde missing hurts, but I don't know. It's just like I'm watching these very average people just kind of make it tough for the Bills, and it should bother you. Like when you're the top seed in the AFC and you're supposed to be the best team in the league or whatever. Like that when that's the expectation, and you're struggling to beat average or slightly above average teams, it's like, I don't know, some of the stuff doesn't compute. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, the Bills got to win out to get that bye week and the home playoff advantage, which would be cool. But
get the win. We'll see Miami Saturday night. It's a good team. If Mike White's
some snow
throwing all over us,
little revenge for their little.
I honestly, rarely have I said this as a Bills fan over the past 4 or 5 years because we've just been so good through the air. I hope it's just abysmal weather, because the last thing I need after watching Mike White just slinging around the field with no problems is Tua and Hill and Waddle just fucking lighten this defense up in good weather. It's the one time I want a weather advantage. Give me Josh Allen 6 6', 260, whatever the fuck he is, just running linebackers and linemen over. I want him to have 35 carries. That's the kind of game we need to beat. Miami's a good team. They are. Their defense is pretty good. It's kind of underrated. The offense is so much better now that they got Tyreek Hill.
It seems like our whole division's kind of good,
I feel like Miami might secretly kind of be the best team in our division.
They beat us once. Hopefully, they don't beat the
Oh,
Bills again.
I'd like to see the Bills prove me wrong on that, but I don't know. Miami seems kind of like the best all-around team. They have the offense that's firing high. They have a solid defense. I feel like we're underperforming heavily.
Yeah, we really need an O-line as well. I've noticed that the last 3 or 4 games here. That's really hurting us. There's no excuse for it either. Honestly. It's not like we're playing like elite pass rushing D linemen. A couple of games, sure, there's been 1 or 2, but it's not like it's not like this all roundhouse 5-star murderous front 4 or front 5 that are pushing.
Right.
And I also noticed the Jets were playing a little nickel defense and using our shit against us, and it was working.
Well, they know. I mean, why would you? You're not gonna stack the box, play a 4-3 or anything against the. I mean, the Bills aren't. They're gonna run all over you. They don't even try to, which is fine. I like that. That's what the modern offense is in the NFL. But if you're gonna be one-dimensional, you got to learn to beat teams when they know you're one-dimensional.
Yeah, and they are technically, but it's just not like you said. It's not like a nice landing. It's clunky.
Yeah.
So.
Take the W, but it's worrisome getting closer to playoff time.
Yeah, one last quick thing here before we get out of here. Appreciate you guys, as always, making it to the end the most, David, for your time as well. But so I'm sure everybody's seen this, my true Decembertainment this week. I'm sure everybody's seen this week that AI generator has been flooding everybody's timelines, and you basically use an app or some kind of computer software program, and you send in photographs, and then they generate a bunch of different art styles and universes. You're like putting like nature or fairy, you're turned into a whatever, like Star Wars characters. Or so I did one,
okay,
but I didn't do myself.
I'm surprised you of all people would do one.
I apparently they delete the photos after 24 hours on their server.
Yeah, you're a fucking ass.
Yeah, well, this company.
What are they gonna do with all this information, Ryan?
I didn't do me though. I did my daughter. And you gotta send like 10 pictures in, right? They can't have anybody else in them. There's a couple things, and it takes about an hour. It cost me money. Apparently, like computers render these things after you send the images, and they send it back. And I got some cool ones. It was cool, but I'm regretting doing it. And I'll tell you why.
I'm surprised you did it to begin with. So I'm interested to.
I'm regretting it because they were all like cartoonish. Right? Or like even the ones that look real, you could tell it was like, this is like a rendering. Even if they kind of look like her, some of them, they were like her in the future, right? They're supposed to be her a little older and they kind of look like her, right? Or maybe it's my mind saying like, oh, I could suspend my disbelief that this is just not like a generic image that I'm imposing on my daughter, right? Like me just seeing a picture of a blonde hair and saying, oh, Melody, right? Like that's normally like, because this might, but it wasn't until I got to almost the last. It's like the 5th from the bottom. And it looked like her when she was 20. And that fucking hurt, man. It was like a dagger made of ice. And you don't fuck with it. Don't fuck with time. I didn't anticipate it. I sent pictures of my young a kid, right? I'm already like evaporating time. It's already Christmas. It's all these things, right? Like 2020, we lost 2 years with COVID, right? Like all these things. And then here it is. And I get it spit back out. And it looks like, like at her wedding day or something. It's just like a real tight picture up here. But she looks like she's 20. And life's a beautiful thing, man. And I don't know. The older I get, the more it seems those old ways make more sense. And like I don't know, I'm trying to make sense of it too. I thank you guys for your time. Dave, you as well. Dave Ryan, December 1773. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Mondays 7 Eastern. I'll catch you guys there. Thank you as always, and till next time.
Go Bills. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, brother.